If you love James Bond movies, spy and espionage thrillers, anything to do with a car chase in a game, and particularly the Spyhunter series, if you're a fan of that, I know it's a bit retro for some, then I think Agent Intercept will have something really tangible to offer you. It's available from the 16th of June on PC, and I had a blast playing for a preview copy of the game. Agent Intercept sees you play as a scepter, or take control of a scepter, and it's a transforming vehicle, and each of the missions that you have has you changing terrain, and your vehicle changes with it, and therefore how it handles. So you might start off in a kind of combative, taking down loads of minion cars by smashing into them or sending missiles or gunshots or mines their way. And then all of a sudden, like, a piece of rock will fall down from an errant missile, and then you'll end up transforming off into an off-road setting, and that might mean that you transform into a snowmobile, for example. Then that might end, and you might end up in the sea, in which case you'll change into a speedboat, and you'll be like proper going along like that. Reminded me very much of Outrun Europe, for those of you that had that on the Master System, like me. Then you've got specific plane sections as well, and all of these intermingle in the same level, and it's really clever how it's all done. The game is designed to be like a proper Fast and Furious James Bond smash-up. It's got terrible B-movie plot, but it's fully voice-acted and it runs with it in a way that's convincing for its stupidity and fun. It doesn't take itself seriously, and it's fully arcade in the way how everything handles. The way how the game progresses through the career, or story mode should I say, that lasts for just over 3 hours for me personally, was that in each level you have 5 objectives, and you need to clear at least a couple of them in order for you to continue progressing through each of the chapters in the game, which is like a collection of 5 missions. Once you've then cleared that threshold of the amount of objectives that you've cleared across that group of levels, that then offers up the final level to you to then go through and attempt to challenge and clear, and that's normally like a super heavy boss battle. Your car has damage, and it will take damage from hitting objects, but not enemies that you're ramming, because ramming is one of the main ways how you can get rid of minions. But if you're being attacked by like laser beams or massive missiles from submarines, or say a volcano's exploding out a missile that's going to erase a whole country, as you do, this is the kind of high stakes this game runs with, then all of that will chip away at your health, and that's really one of 2 ways that you can have a game over. The other one is that everything in this game is running against a time limit, because it's always like, the nukes are about to be launched. So each level you've got to try and like get to the end before the time limit runs out. And that brings me to the main way how this game fluidly brings together lots of gameplay elements. Because you're running against a time limit, your car is always going forward, like on an auto accelerate. But don't fear too much, because it's very rare that you stay at that pace. The whole game is around keeping your boost meter running and chaining up events so that you can replenish your boost as you go, and your score multiplier at the same time. You do this by collecting score bubbles as you go in like 100 points or 500 points, but primarily you press your like A button on my Xbox 360 controller to push forward and boost, and then when you're doing that, whenever you turn into a corner, you'll drift. Drifting keeps your multiplier going so that you can then collect more score bubbles, or if you ram and take out an enemy, or if you send a missile or a gunshot or drop a mine and it takes the enemy out, that also adds up to your multiplier and therefore keeps your boost going. And so it's about making sure that you're taking out enemies on straights and then drifting around corners and collecting bubbles and everything else in the meantime, so that you keep this power going. Because the longer that you spend without this boost, the closer you get to the time limit. Of course, at some point you're going to be too slow and you won't get to the end of the level before the time level runs out, and that's really how you get your game overs. Those 5 objectives that I was talking about earlier that unlock your progress are almost always tied to things that will increase your boost and your score multiplier. So it'll be things like clearing at least 20 minion cars. It might be doing 5 like stunt jumps where you can barrel roll over it because you're drifting as you jump. It could be that you need to take out a boss within a certain time frame or in a certain time period, or it just might be that you've survived with a certain amount of damage, that kind of thing. They're all quite easily to do. You might not necessarily do them all in the same run, so it does give you lots of repeated options from there. Outside of that story mode, as you go through the story, you actually start to unlock loads of side missions. And if anything, the side missions that aren't part of the story is almost the same runtime of the game again, which kind of confused me a little bit, because in the chapter mode you kind of get 5 or 6 levels per chapter, but the story spin-off modes gives you 4 extra levels per chapter as well, so you've nearly got the same lot again. And then you can do the whole thing in time attack mode as well, in like a kind of single player race format as well. The game and the handling of the car feels really fluid. So does the graphics as it's coming towards you. Occasionally I did get a few little bits of slowdown, but what would happen when you'd notice a slowdown? It's because it's syncing you up with the next kind of section of events, and it will kind of load it alongside what you're doing. So you might get like a couple of frames of jag before you kind of get going again, but it's such a small price to pay for what is a really fluid and responsive game that has to think on the ball as you're changing, because you're going to hit certain like trigger points for events to take place around you at certain points and periods. So it's having to kind of think and load and run all at the same time. Looks beautiful, sounds beautiful, excellent voice acting from the cast. Yes, it's a B-movie plot, but it's good fun because they inject that B-movie level of energy to it all. And the handling is really, really fluid as well. It's proper full-on kart racery drifting that you're doing as you go around everywhere. It's loose, but like you can grab it by the scruff of the neck, and just with a little feathering of the throttle you can really aim up to collect all of those score points as you go, and so on and so forth. Overall though, one of the big draws for me was just how over the top stupid it is in the best possible way. I mean, when someone's sending a death laser to you from space after you've driven up a massive missile that's launching into it to try and take it out, those are the wonderful stakes that you get to have. And then your sidekick always like flows in with a plane at some point, and then you manage to like perfectly land inside the plane in your car still, obviously. And then like, "Whoo, job done, team!" And it's all like flying out to like bow, 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 saxophone, like super spy sleuth music. It does it all so well. And I had a giant beam on my face throughout the entire time playing, which in this day and age, it's just a lovely joy to have a switch off brain game that you can just like goof out on. So yeah, it's the equivalent of a proper popcorn game, but it's stuck in my memory and I do thoroughly recommend it. Written review will be over on highplayinggames.com. Got any questions, leave it down below. But yeah, if you want to have your next feel of being James Bond invincible, Agent Intercept will be right up your street. Take care all. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/Higher Plane Network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.